Hey everybody, it's Samantha from Samantha Design. So welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to take another look at this Spellbinders April card kit, this lovely cup of daisies. I'm making another card and I am using the Spellbinders kit, the paper that comes with it. The paper is called Sincerely Yours. That scrap of plaid that you see there is from our last card, and I'm going to use that again for this card today. So I'm getting everything kind of prepped. I'm going to be using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This time I'm not using my stamping platform, I'm just using an acrylic block. And what I'm going to be doing is some paper piercing today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that Memento Tuxedo Black ink that we were just talking about, and I'm going to ink this stamp up. And really the only thing I really need to stamp really well is the cup portion. So I'm putting that on the paper itself because I'm going to fussy cut this out. So yep, just stamping that right there and making sure I got a good impression. Looks good. And so now what we're going to do is fussy cut all of this out. I'm going to fast forward through this part because I know this part will be boring, and I'll see you back on the other side. Okay guys, we're back. I have this little die cut here that I created using an old pink and main die I had. So on this cute little die cut I am going to add my image again using the same ink, the Tuxedo Black from Memento. And I'm just going to put that centered as best I can. I'm really eyeballing it. Again, I'm not one that measures and everything very often. Excuse me. So, yeah, I just took those just like they are and loved it on this cute little die cut. And now I have my portion that I had stamped on the plaid paper. So I am going to add that on here to my main image. And I'm going to use my Elmer's Craft Bond glue here. That's my favorite liquid glue, and I'm just doing this so it gives me a little bit of a wriggle time so I can get it exactly in the right place and cover up all of that. That's the biggest reason for that. I thought having a nice plaid mug would be kind of cute, something different. On the last time we watercolored all of this, but this time we are just going to do this little bit of pattern paper instead. And I put my acrylic block on top so it can just hold it down while it dries. And then I'm going back to that Sincerely Yours paper pad that came with the kit. I like this pretty floral, and I'm going to cut this down to go on my card base. Well, it looks like I'm going to be scoring my card base first. So here I have just 110 pound cardstock from Recollections. I've got it 4 1/4 by 8 1/2, and I'm scoring it, 4 1/4 by 11. I'm scoring it at 5 1/2 inches. And then when you fold this, it's a top folding note card, and it makes the card base. So this is something, I just need to sit down and start doing this ahead of time and making sure I have a bunch of card bases made so I can just kind of put these things together. But I didn't have one. I'd already used up all the ones from the card making kit, so I just made my own instead. But that lovely little piece of floral, I'm going to cut this down to my typical 4 by 5 1/4, so it leaves a little bit of a white edge around everything. So I'm just going to cut that down, and for this I like to use my Fiskars trimmer it does such a really, really nice cut. I like I have two Fiskars trimmer, the guillotine style one, and then one that's for 12 by 12 sheets. And I like both of them, but I feel like the guillotine a lot of times gives me a much better cut. So yeah, I'm just kind of planning things out, making sure this is looking the way I want it. And I think it needs something else. So this is where I'm starting to think about what else do I want to do. And I realized that the flowers have no color at all at this point, and I decided just to use a little bit of Copic to color in the middle of the daisies, just to give a little bit more pop, and it also will coincide with that paper and make it kind of look a little bit more cohesive, I think. So really enjoying that. But it still needs something else. So I was thinking about what embellishments I wanted to use. What did I really, want to do here? And you can see me thinking about it. I'm going, okay, what do I want to do? So I'm going to use some fun foam. I have some green in my stash. I think I got this from Dollar Tree, and all I have is colors left. So I'm cutting this down a little bit, slightly smaller than that blue pattern paper over there, and I'm going to use it to back that, and it'll give it a little bit of dimension. But I'm cutting a little slice out of the middle of it because I'm going to use some of this black baker's twine that I have. Now this baker twine is Recollections. It's been in my stash forever. I really am trying to use it up. And it's not been my favorite twine to use just because it's so thick. So this is kind of what led me to use the fun foam. And I'm just going to use some tape runner on this, which probably wasn't the best idea, but I mean, it worked out. But I'm doing that because it'll create a little well for the cording to go through, so it's not so bulky when I put it down on the card front, which is what my thought process was. And here I'm trying to make sure everything's going to be where I want it to be and line up and still have a place, because I'm going to tie that cording into a little bit of a bow. So this part of the fun foam's going at the very bottom, and it's just the right size. Okay, now what I'm going to do with the cording is to make sure it's really secure. I'm going to use a little bit of score tape. I have some other double-sided adhesive tape in my stash that I get from other places, like Daiso, some of them from AliExpress. Some came with the card kit. But if I truly am worried about something moving, I'm going to go to the score tape, because it's kind of the tried and true tested. I love that stuff. And so I'm just putting a little bit on each end. I'm going to use my tweezers to get off the release paper. And then I'm going to wrap that cording around there. And that little bit of score tape is going to hold this in place so it doesn't shift or go anywhere that I don't want it to go. Which is why I like it so much. It works really, really well. Trying to make sure I like what's happening here. Gonna cut out some of the excess, and I'm gonna make a bow out of one of these to go on the front. Because it's just enough cording to make a bow. And then comes the fun part of trying to make sure that this will stay on the card after I fumble with this bow a little bit, because I don't know about everybody, but I've seen a lot of people that really struggle with bow tying. I am one of those people as well. It's very difficult for me. And then trying to get the bow to look nice and neat and symmetrical in the way you want it. And I'm going to trim off all these little fuzzies at the end, because nobody's want fuzzy at the bottom of their bows. And then I realized I need to put this down on my card base, because I want to make sure it's all where it needs to be. And I'm just using tape runner for efficiency's sake. Typically I probably would have used some wet glue or something. Okay. So I'm liking how that's looking. And see, now my cording is not far enough down, which is something I'm not really thrilled about. So I can just kind of fumble with it until it's where I want it to be. And I like that much, much better. So for this, I'm going to use a little bit of the glue, wet glue again for wiggle purposes. It just makes life easier. And then I can get it in these little corners where these delicate pieces of the die cut are, because there's like little stars at the corners of this, which is really, really cute. But I want to make sure it lays down like it's supposed to. So I'm going to place that with my tweezers, helping me out a little bit and making sure it's down nice and neat. And of course, my trick of finding an acrylic block to stay on top of it really does help. And while that is doing its thing, I'm going to try to get this bow. And again, I'm using my Elmer's Craft Bond for this as well, and my reverse tweezers are going to be a big part of this as well, because it's going to clamp that lovely bow in place until all that glue dries, so it doesn't go anywhere. The best part of this glue is not only it has a great bond, it really does, for like sequins and again cording like this or anything else. But once it dries clear, so even if it like smushes out the sides or whatever, it dries clear, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to set this aside and let this dry while I decide what I'm going to be doing as far as sentiment or anything else I want to get done with this card. So I decided for this one, I'm going to do some Nuvo drops. These are glitter Nuvo drops in a blue color that match really well, and the color is, what is the color here? Dazzling Blue. I always like to take my my Nuvo drops and then make sure they're going to come out okay on a piece of scrap paper, because sometimes they don't like to come out, and especially fine with the glitter ones, sometimes it gets a little stopped up, which is what happened here. My nozzle was all stopped up, so I had to take that apart and get it kind of straight. And I think I ended up using a straight pin to try to get it unclogged is what I did. So that's taken a little bit of time. There we go. Now I feel like I've got some Nuvo drops that are coming out decently. I do try to use the rule of thirds, or keeping things uneven and odd. And some, when I stepped back from this one, I was kind of like, I think I used way too many Nuvo drops, man. But that was just way too many. But in the end, I liked it. It was cool. It worked out really well. Okay, so see this little strip that I have left? I think I picked this up from Christy Marcotte when she does a 6x6 paper pad. One of the things that she does with these little strips is that she'll put them on the inside of the card, and I really like that because it helps bring the design inside, but you still have plenty of room to write, put a message, whatever the case may be. And this one I went with no sentiment, which is very unusual, but I like it. Thanks guys so much for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Bye.